You're listening to the All Things Geekery podcast. This is episode 13 of season 2, The Blunder of Blizzcon. I'm your host, Detached.
Hey guys, and I'm Victus. In this episode, we'll be talking about this year's BlizzCon. What became of it? What are they doing for the community? What new announcements Blizzard brought to the table? And we'll be dropping our opinions and covering the controversy regarding Diablo.
We want to welcome all our listeners back, and if this is your first time with us, we want to give you a big shout out and a huge thank you for listening. But for now, let's jump into things.
So as it happens every year, the glorious event that is BlizzCon takes place. Is now, I guess you could say, it's come up in the ranks of infamy of like E3 with the attendance and people wanting to go to it and how tickets are done. Personally, I've never been there. I've never gone to the tickets themselves, but I've always tuned in to see what Blizzard offers. It's always really cool to tee up for, especially when I was playing World of Warcraft, waiting for the next expansion. This year, we coming on the release of Blizzard's World of Warcraft expansion, Battle of Azeroth. So they're looking at what new they could bring to that. They could, Overwatch, Starcraft, those are all being come to the table. And even with all that and how experienced Blizzard has been with BlizzCon, I still felt kind of awkward in the script writing of the opening ceremony. I don't know if you felt that way, Attached.
Yeah, this opening ceremony was pretty much fell flat on your face, and you just kind of botched this one really bad.
I mean, there are several points, and this kind of goes in all conferences. You kind of expect them to get really good about knowing when to allow people to clap. I mean, this is a weird topic to talk about, but it was noticeable. It really was, even from the beginning of the event itself.
Somebody should have held a sign up saying we need you to clap now.
Yes, I almost feel like they did, and people didn't follow it. I don't know. And maybe that sets the tone, of what we were about to see with the rest of BlizzCon. They just didn't really know how everybody was going to react.
Well, not only did it set the tone for the rest of the conference, but I also think it confused a lot of the longtime Blizzard fans, because this is the staple of Blizzard. They're known for good content, especially around their con. And not just from a gaming standpoint, but from the flow, from the entertainment aspect. It's always been larger than life. And I've never been. I've always wanted to go. It's a bucket list item. But this year was really, it felt off. It didn't feel right. And like you said, it was awkward. People just didn't feel like they were engaged all that well. I don't know, but Blizzard really kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was bad producing behind the scenes, bad script writing, new director. I don't know what it was, but this one just did not feel right. It wasn't fun to watch either.
Well, and it kind of fell right in the, season of where Blizzard did with all their games. You've already got the expansion out for World of Warcraft, Battle of Azeroth. People have already been playing that. Overwatch hasn't really hinted about anything big and new coming. Hasn't had in a while, but they've just been adding new characters, some maps in there. Starcraft, and we'll talk about the games as they, went over them in their announcements. But I mean, it kind of all makes sense in how Blizzard was trying to keep this going. With that said, though, I mean, they're doing a lot of good on the eSports side.
That's
getting
huge.
Teams. Yeah, huge. I mean, there's massive section of the eSports arenas that are dedicated to just Blizzard games.
Yeah, which is bonkers to think about, because we're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of seats being sold out for an esports game.
Right. I mean, we're talking. I mean, you have your Counter-Strikes and you have your PUBGs and your Fortnites, but there is multiples of Overwatch leagues. There's multiples of Heroes of the Storm, of World of Warcrafts, and worldwide Starcraft leagues. I mean, you have an entire country dedicated to that game in a sense. Yeah, Hearthstone. Good call out there. In all the arenas.
Massive following for that.
Absolutely. And it attests to how good Blizzard's games are, really, and that they're able to, from there, produce their arenas with some support from Blizzard themselves, because it benefits them to keep their arenas going.
Yeah,
But
it does. I think Blizzard has capitalized. I said capsized. That's funny.
yeah, capsized.
They done sunk the ship.
At the end of this podcast, we'll find out why.
They've capitalized in the right areas, and they've allowed for a good growth as well. They haven't set themselves up for some failure. And I think other companies in that arena for the esports, they probably shot their foot a few too many times, and it kind of hurt them on the back end. And Blizzard, they're not hurting on the pocketbooks any, so that always helps out as well. They've done well over the last 2 years, quite a few years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're the number one subscribing MMO, one of the most watched games
Ever
on Twitch, Mixer. Yeah, I mean, you got, when looking at a Twitch list of games and people playing those games, people watching those games, Overwatch is constantly up there. I mean, you always see your staples like Fortnite at the beginning, or the new game that just came out, usually at the front. But speaks to the testament of the actual quality of the game itself.
Yeah.
And they bring in huge amount of numbers when it comes to events for these games, let alone events produced by Blizzard or supported by Blizzard. But people come from all over to see this, to watch it, to play it, to compete in it.
There's people that come from all over the nation, all over the world. And there's three things that I really like about what Blizzard has done over their existence is they've become masters at being able to repeat things that are sustainable. So they've taken a model and they've made it reproducible. They've made it sustainable, and they can repeat it over and over and over. And we see that in their games. We see that in their con, sit-ups. The BlizzCon this year was not a good example of that, but in past and things that we've seen recently, everything from social media to their community managers, they're just an all-around good company. I've always been a fan of Blizzard, really have. I actually even signed up years ago. You guys may not have known this. I filled an application for a community manager for Blizzard. So, a little tidbit on a personal note there.
As you know, he's not working at Blizzard, so
I am not.
They didn't make a smart decision at that point. So
I would have been the best community manager they ever hired. Blizzard, if you're listening.
Yes. But I mean, absolutely. I mean, with all their engagement, and one thing that they've did this last year, which was really cool and really kind of put them in like the record books, is they partnered with Breast Cancer Research, and through that they were going to raise money by releasing a single skin for one of their heroes in Overwatch, Mercy, along with merchandise to go with it. But that was the big pull of this. And through that, I think the number was like $12 to $13 million they were able to raise.
That was astronomical.
Yeah, astronomical. It was the largest donation from a single company to breast cancer research. And it was all 100% of the funds for when people bought the skin was given to this research, which is huge. And it's great. Just talking about raising money for a fund or a cause, that's great. That's a great idea to take hold. And I hope to see that type of deployment, type of raising of money in other companies. It's a huge, like, companies need to take note that this was successful.
Well, yes, it was a success because the feedback in the community, because of the way Blizzard handled it, the insane amount of hype that they had around this was great. And yeah, other companies, they need to jump on board for this. I mean, these companies become where they are because they've got great communities that are tagged along with them. And we've talked about it before. The community is what really jumps on board of these things. And, Blizzard has got its faults just like any other company, but I have to say they've got a top-notch community, and people love helping people if they're given the chance to do it.
Yeah, and everybody, each community has their toxic group, but
No,
No, they don't. No, they don't. It's all lies.
it's all
But
lies. It's gaming lies.
yeah, and especially as you get more into the PvP realms of certain games, they get more competitive. I mean, and because of that, you bring in some more possibly toxicity there. One game that was first talked about and is based around player versus player, which is Starcraft 2.
I love Starcraft.
It's such a good game. I mean, it really is. And what they did with and stormed the PC realm with Starcraft 1 and continued it and rebirthed it with Starcraft 2, and not a hiccup along the way. Everybody was given great reviews. Everybody loved it. Still a very well balanced RTS. In trying, other people trying to compare to it, they always compare to how can we become balanced like StarCraft 2 is. Because that game, you could pick any of the 3 factions and you have no worry about there being like end all be all of a faction. You got to always choose this, and you're always going to have one up. Now it doesn't really exist. They had to tweak some things, of course, but right out the gate, it was very well done.
It was crazy solid, and still to this day one of the best real-time strategies ever made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they took tips from the current RTS at the time, and they improved on it going into StarCraft 1, and then they even found out what they were messing up in StarCraft 1 and fixed it in StarCraft 2, 10 plus years later.
Which is crazy to think about, that they're still looking at 10 years into a game and still making fixes for it. But how long can you truly sustain a game like that? I mean, there's only so much story that you can pump into a real-time strategy.
Right. And that's where
we do so much.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of StarCraft. I mean, it was my RTS in the day, right along with like Red Alert 2.
Oh, absolutely.
I played all the StarCraft 2 campaigns. I played a lot of online. But right on your point, how far can it be taken? I mean, it's a great game. There's nothing wrong with the game. But for somebody to, from a business aspect, how can you continue to monetize on StarCraft 2? Not saying they're going to abandon it, but I don't see a whole lot of, like, especially story growth in the game. I feel like we're done.
I don't think there's any story progression left. To me, games are like books. If you've got a good book series, it's a series for a reason, because there's a continuation of the story, but that story does finally come to an end. And, all story writing, whether it's in the world of gaming, whether you're writing scripts, whether you're building stories, whether you're a part-time blogger, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always story crafting, and that always kind of tends to come to an end, like any good thing. And I think if they're going to make series like this, then they need to be okay, and the crowd needs to be okay with understanding that, one day that there's not going to be this left. And I think the biggest thing is really around the story aspect of this, is the people who want more story, I think, place a little too much on the game itself, or maybe they place a little too much on one specific game. Like, hey, I wish it would have done this, and I wish it would have done that. Well, that's like saying, hey, I wish this book series would have. That's not what the writers did, though. That's not what the story did. And I think we just, as game players, need to be okay with it.
Yeah. And it'll continue to be a really strong arena type game, conference and competitive type game, especially because the game alone, it is a national game when you're talking about the country of South Korea. I mean, people tune in on TV to watch people play it, and people come from all the world to attend their StarCraft World Championships.
Yeah, World Championships.
Championships.
Let that sink in for a little bit.
So it'll continue to be a top game, especially because it will be hard for another RTS to come along and hold the quality that StarCraft 2 holds. But in regards to adding stuff to it, I think we're at an end. There'll be new little Yeah, there'll be new additions. Like it's really nice they added the Archon mode or the co-op modes to single player or to the campaigns. But I don't see like changes in the PvP and just the overall combat. I don't see like new units being added or new faction. I mean, it's always going to be 3 factions, but just anything new. I think we're kind of done.
Yeah.
And
it's lived a good life. It really has.
Absolutely. When you have a kind of the pinnacle of RTS out there, you just gotta leave it polished. You come back and just keep it up to date and just let everybody enjoy it. So, but talking about adding new things, we go into our next game here, and is one that I've played for a little while. Didn't really hold into. I mean, I love card game strategies, and that gives hint what we're talking about. This is Heroes of the Storm. We'll talk about Hearthstone later, but this one's the follow-up to Dota.
Which I hated Dota.
Dota and those battle arenas.
I'm not a battle arena guy. I don't enjoy that game style.
Yeah. It's hard. It's an interesting one to get into. I played a lot of League of Legends in the day. I played like 2 games of Dota, maybe. And those were already established games. And here Blizzard comes along with Heroes of Storm and does what they do best. They take a game, they
made it better.
They streamlined it. So there's it's more fat. It's faster.
It's more fat.
More fat. More faster. It's streamlined. It's faster than the other games. And in this entire time, we've always seen characters introduced that have been part of the Blizzard ecosystem. From the Lich King of World of Warcraft to characters like Kerrigan from Starcraft to all of them, all throughout. Yeah, people from Overwatch have come in.
Yeah.
So, and they did something different this time, and I don't know. Even though I don't play a whole lot of it, I don't know how I feel about it and the direction Blizzard's going to go with it. They introduced a character, a hero that was not part of their ecosystem.
Not part of Blizzard.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Why would you introduce a character that's not part of your company? It's not part of you as a company. That's just strange to me.
Yeah, and that's a good word to call it. It's strange for how long they've been running, and maybe it's because they've ran out of characters to introduce to it.
I mean,
they have a lot out there, but
well, yeah, they've got a few. But are you telling me that you're so out of good ideas that now you can't create something within your own company? You need to go. I don't know. It would be like going to a Honda shop and saying, "Hey, I'm ready to buy a Toyota." It's not right. You don't do that. It's weird.
It looks like they're tying it into the idea of what Heroes of the Storm is, like the storyline per se that's there in this hero's introduction. But I'll be curious to see once this hero is in and people start playing as her.
Mm-hmm.
If they continue on and like the next character is also a new hero. Because that's kind of one thing that separated Heroes of the Storm from the others is you brought in characters that you were already familiar with. Diablo. You brought in like I said, the Lich King, all those from the World of Warcraft series, all those from some of those from the Overwatch.
Yeah, because there was already hype behind those characters. Like you said, people knew them, they enjoyed them, they liked them. I don't know. It's just it's a weird move on the company's behalf. So I don't know. I don't follow Heroes of the Storm. I don't like those kinds of games. So it's really hard for me to have a good opinion about this. To me, this is just a sucky idea. Okay.
We can go with your opinion. I put it in the whole. This is strange.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's not. It's a new character to a game, so that's good. That's a good point right there. And it looks like a new, unique character in comparison to what we've seen combat styles of other people in the game. But in regards to the characteristics and the identity of Hero of the Storm, it's an interesting move.
Yeah. It is.
That's my opinion. It's an interesting move, and we'll see how it continues into the next couple heroes that they announce throughout the year.
Sucky. I'm sticking with Sucky.
All right, we'll just put that Sucky. Okay, in the notes here. But
next up, we've got the game of World of Warcraft. I'm sure you guys have heard of that.
It's a small game.
I think maybe one server that people play on still.
Small server, just a small server, but
very small. I think. Well, it's been a while since I've played World of Warcraft, but I have followed it very closely because it was near and dear to my heart one time. And this game is in a very strange and awkward spot. It really is. I've heard this a lot on social media lately about people that used to love this game and took a break from it, and they've come back to really be excited, but yet they can't get excited, and they're having a hard time getting into the game.
Yeah, and it regards around how they've done the story into this new expansion is that you've basically made an entire faction evil.
Yeah, literally an entire faction.
Yeah, and some people, and to give a backstory, the Horde started now attacking and going after the Alliance strongholds. Alliance counterattacked, and we're now at the point where multiple battles have been won and lost on either side. Several main strongholds have been taken out. The Great Tree of Teldrassil has been burned. The city of Lordaeron has been retaken by the Alliance.
Right, yeah.
But through all of that, the Horde was portrayed, they were the bad guys. And throughout all of the storyline of World of Warcraft, the Horde was always their own identity. Yes, they were at odds with the Alliance, but they were never the true bad guy.
They were never the main protagonist as far as the evil that people were facing.
Yeah, you as the player, as a Horde character, were not the bad guy.
No, and it's, I don't know. It's in a very strange spot. Again, I go back to my story thought that I had earlier. If you look at any great story that we have ever seen, I mean, Sauron had to die. Frodo finally had to throw the stupid ring in the fire.
Here's Lord of the Ring reference, guys. We just couldn't escape this episode.
Nope, we could not. We can't escape any episode without bringing up the greatest writings ever made on Earth. It just truly is Tolkien. Anyways, back to what we're talking about. It's World of Warcraft.
Yes.
My point exactly is I think they're trying to stretch the story. The writers are trying to be over creative when the foundations are done. I don't know if this can really go any farther without just rehashing the same things that we've done over and over already. And I think that becomes monotonous. It kills the player base. It puts the game in an awkward spot. And people are like, I don't know if I want to go back. This is not fun anymore. I'm just doing the same things over and over and over. And basically, I just explained what every MMO in the world does. But hey,
Well, and regarding the story, I mean, or let's go back and talk about what they actually announced was that their new area, title of their area, so it's Tides of Vengeance. So we're going to go back to the Troll Stronghold City. Right. Very Aztec base, and they're going to go back there, and they've announced, there's going to be raids that are in the first time unique to Horde and Alliance. But
which is a cool idea. I like.
Yeah, great idea there. Great concept about having those unique,
very creative. Environments.
But regarding the story and how we're now seeing possibly the Horde separate from the people that started the war, and how much can we have a bad guy that is basically us going against Garrosh Hellscream again? Because that's who we fought in Warlords of Draenor. I mean, that's what happened. He was a ex-Horde leader that rebelled and created his own faction and tried to bring his own Horde. And we're kind of seeing the same thing here with Sylvanas.
Yeah.
So
again, back to rehashing. a different script writing.
Right. And it'd be, I hope they create something unique there in how Sylvanas is captured or what happens to her and what her actions take place. But I don't know. Like you, I haven't played in a while, but I've kept up with the storyline because I've read a lot of the books. They're really entertaining to me, and
It's
I've
an amazing
previously.
story.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a continuating timeline here, except for some time travel that happened with Warlords of Draenor. But with all that, I do worry we're gonna hit into an area that we've done before. You just change out characters, change out their names, and boom, here's your new expansion. So
it's basically reskinning everything. You just put different colors, and I don't know.
yeah.
I don't enjoy playing games that one are really this old. I mean, World of Warcraft has been on the block for a couple of minutes, so
Just a little while.
I think the story is kind of coming to a close, and I think that gameplay and what they're doing is cool, and I think the company has done a great job with it. But sometimes you have to just look at it from a perspective of, I think we're done, and cut the loss, because then you end up hurting the reputation of the game. You end up hurting player base, and you start putting out crap.
Yeah. Well, and with any of them, you can only carry out your main characters for so long and stretch them out before either A, you have to kill them off, or B, they become so boring it's not worth it to try to keep up with them.
Right.
So or excuse me, and third one, ride them off into the sunset. They had a happy life and okay, they're gone. But we'll see what happens with them what their next continuation of the storyline is. How many more areas can we go to in Azeroth or the new worlds and explore? But
I mean, Azeroth is a big place, but
it is. It seems like we're always finding a new continent that we didn't know about.
Well, they've got a guy out there. He's drawn continent. I can't tell you one, but I'm drawing it right now. Ooh, look, we found it.
Yeah, we found it. But keeping the topic of World of Warcraft, they also announced what everybody had been rumoring, and there's some people playing their own dedicated service, but Blizzard actually officially announced it, which was World of Warcraft Classic.
Yep, going old school.
Bringing back the good old days of when World of Warcraft first released. And it really is going to be World of Warcraft as it took place right before their first couple main area expansions. I wouldn't say the actual expansion of Burning Crusade, but actually the different areas of like the Molten Core and the big raids that happened.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be jumping in right before those happen. So we're going to have just a couple updates before that. But
so originally to the game, I came in about the Burning Crusade era.
Yeah, me too.
Which was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's what I came into, but so I didn't have that. What did World of Warcraft feel like in as day one to whatever happened and the opening of the gates of going into Molten Core and going into the big 40-man raids. But with all that, there was a lot of people talk about the nostalgia. Let's go back to that time. There was a lot of stress and just not quality of life things that existed in this classic version of World of Warcraft in year one of World of Warcraft that
it
made
was
life
broken.
hard.
It was very broken.
Really had to, it was broken. You really had to work to get people together.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Well, the technology wasn't there yet.
Yeah. And I don't, this can appeal to those that have been playing on and have been going to these classic servers. Nostradamus, I think the name of the server was before it got shut down. There's a big following of people that went out there and played on that server. It was a classic build of World of Warcraft. I don't know that they went to any expansions, but this World of Warcraft Classic will appeal to those people that have been playing that and some people that maybe want to try to see what year one World of Warcraft will be. But as with all nostalgia, the rose-tinted glasses, you're going to take those off and you're like, oh,
ew.
Yeah.
You're gonna go ew.
Ew. There are some things that Blizzard's done that people have been too happy with. So some people will be happy those are gone. But there's also been a lot of quality of life things that have taken place that we just take for granted. And you get rid of those, and it's like, give me those back. I mean, some things as simple as quest trackers, yeah, all your items
Yeah.
auto sorted, and then there's
Auto
these little.
sorting.
It was very basic.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave you a quest, and you actually had to you're going to have to actually read through the quest to know where to
figure out
go.
where the heck to go.
I mean, I'll be truthful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be truthful. When I was going into quests, just when I stopped playing, that was probably the last time I played about a year ago. Grab a quest. I wouldn't even read what's on the screen. Just what do I gotta do? Okay, kill 5 things. All right, where are they at on the map? Oh, they're all over. Okay. And yes, that took away from it, but
and that's what creates burnout in games is that, because it's discombobulated for what the gaming company truly wanted you to do.
Yeah. With that said, I do remember the times in Burning Crusade. I don't think that they hadn't implemented that type of quest tracker system. So you either had to rely on mods,
Yeah.
add-ons.
Yeah, don't call them mods. Come on.
Yeah. That tracked it for you, or you had to read the quest. And some of those quests got pretty frustrating. Like, where in the world is this guy or this chest to loot or this item to pick up? What in the world?
There were some of those you would spend hours looking for. You would get frustrated, and then you would wait, and you would come back days later, and you would spend more hours and still never finish it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a different experience. If some people like that, some people don't. So
I don't know too many people that like that experience.
There's some out there. On the bright side, though, the World of Warcraft Classic, they're releasing, it's free. It's free. Subscribers.
Yeah.
So for those that already are playing World of Warcraft, well, you get it. There you go. You can go try the Classic and done. So hats off to Blizzard for doing that. I really don't think they could have done anything else for that, like had a separate subscription. That would have not have gone over well.
That would have been a bad move.
Yes. So
very bad move.
Very smart on their point to put in the extra work on getting the servers stood up for Classic. So we'll see how many people actually go over and create characters on when it actually releases December, or I think it's next year. I think December.
It's next year.
Next year? Okay.
I think it's next year. I could be wrong.
People listening will correct us and say, "Oh, it's actually December." Okay.
Yes, if you guys know when it is, drop it in the notes. That way we can figure it out.
Yeah. Or we can just Google it. Anyway, but we'll see. I won't be hopping into play just because I have so many other games, and World of Warcraft is one you really have to dedicate yourself to. But I will definitely be tracking who plays and what.
Been there, done that. I love the moments. I don't feel like being nostalgic with that game, so I won't be playing.
Fine.
Well, and I'm not a subscriber anymore, so there you go.
Yeah. Forgot to mention, one thing that they have announced is they're not just going to be a year one. They're going to actually have, just like it was released, they're going to bring in the Molten Cores. They're going to bring in the other raids that happened before Burning Crusade. I can see them even continuing with these servers to go run into Burning Crusade.
And I think that's a good move. I think that's going to be fun for people that have never done it before. Maybe brand new people that are just now getting into the new side of World of Warcraft. They can go back and look at this and see where the roots started.
Yeah. Welcome to a World of Warcraft that you can't fly in. And that's huge. Because that's
how do I get places?
Right. You actually have to walk. So we'll see. Good move, smart move, especially for Blizzard to business side, for them to capitalize on what was happening with the servers, even though the servers were free from those that stood up by just people out in the environment, in the community.
Yeah,
Blizzard came through, and there's a whole debacle about them shutting them down and everything like that. But they then delivered on a Classic, and because their business, they want to monetize on it. So we'll see if they actually see an uptick in overall subscriptions when Classic does take place. I assume they will, but by how much? By how much they'll bring in new subscribers.
I don't know. Curious to see if they drop those numbers out.
Yeah. But done with World of Warcraft here. Getting into our next game, which is Overwatch.
Old
Overwatch, which
is really not that old.
it's not
a brand new game.
Yeah, in the gaming universe. But man, is Overwatch a game that I will go back and watch all their their cinematographic trailers, their origin trailers.
So good.
They're just so good.
So good.
I mean, people are begging for Blizzard to make Blizzard to do the World of Warcraft movie or a Warcraft movie besides the one that was released.
I would love to have it in the same cinematography style that they do.
Yes.
Don't try to go do a live action film.
Yes.
I want what
you do so much more
make already. Yes. That would be amazing.
Well,
I think
go ahead.
I think the reputation that Blizzard has by releasing some of those rights and letting someone make a craft live action film really kind of hurt things.
Yeah.
Because you got people that have never played the game, seen the game, know anything about the game, movie, and they're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. Well, and with what we've seen of World of Warcraft in their trailers, their little clips, their animated movies, they pulled that into Overwatch, and it's just over the top. Every single one is so well done. The voice acting's great. The animation is great.
Animation's amazing.
And the characters they introduce and build around each one. That's the thing about Overwatch. Every character is unique and just made up for this universe that exists.
Yeah.
In the Overwatch, and each one has their own characteristics. There's not really one that doesn't have an amazing backstory to it, characteristic, and that you don't connect with once you know about that person.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been really one of the first things that kind of caught my eye with Overwatch is I was a big Quake fan.
Yep.
Loved Quake 3 Arena. And it had that fast pace to it. It had the diversity in the weapons, and player styles. That's really what caught my eye with Overwatch.
Yep.
But then when I got to see the backgrounds of the players, where they came from, and then you get to watch the movies and the actual clean crispness of that. Oof. Big old cherry on top.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and with that, I mean, that we always look forward to their next, hero reveal, because it always got a new one. Her name is Ash, with her partner Bob, and from the same gang that brought you McCree. And she's very, very Western, very outlawish, but you pick up on some of the origins in the trailer, which highly recommend people go out and watch. Go out to Blizzard's website, pull up the video that introduces Ash, introduces Bob. Very well done. It especially shows a deeper character into McCree and how he acts and how his connection to Ash and the gang is. But she's another unique playstyle. Like, they keep pulling off no rehashes of playstyles with different characters.
Oh no, they're very unique.
They have very, very diverse, and especially in this one, because this is the first time we're seeing Ash. Basically, we're looking at a hero that's kind of like two heroes in one, because Bob's also in there. Her butler, sidekick, however you want to refer to him, robot butler. With machine guns in his arm. Yeah.
we'll say a machine gun wielding butler.
Yes, absolutely. I talking about Bob real quick, I was kind of hoping he would be a hero just because of his characters. I mean, in the movie, he's sitting there and she yells at him like, "Bob, do something." And he just kind of very nonchalantly just tips his hat, pushes his hat to his side and sticks out his fist, and guns pop out around his fist and he starts shooting. But he's just very chill about it. You can tell
Very mellow, like
very
no
mellow.
care in the world.
Yeah, and he does what she says, but he doesn't get mad. I mean, walking by, all said McCree wins, and walking by Bob's head sitting on the trailer, and McCree goes, "Hey, no hard feelings, Bob," and you can tell Bob just doesn't care. Not a care in the world.
It's like, hey,
So
okay,
yeah,
that's great.
I want to see more of that story. So it really another testament to their story, of their background, of different characters. I hope that's given out more by comics, books, and whatever it may be. We find out more about that. But I'm looking forward to this hero, watching what she can do in the play in the competitive area of the game.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting play style for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of people jump on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Overwatch, in their announcement and what they did, it was I consider that so far a win for Blizzard in how they've done.
Huge win. Yeah, big win on that
good,
area.
Good announcement. Good, bring in the community. You announce a new hero, a very unique hero at that, and move on. So, none of the announcements was a game that I don't know if there's a lot of rumors to it or not, but they announced a remaster for Warcraft 3.
This one caught me off guard. I was not expecting this, honestly. I haven't really stayed close to what Blizzard was going to be announcing. Wasn't really excited for this BlizzCon for whatever reason. But yeah, when they said that they were going to be remastering Warcraft 3, it caught me off guard. Not in a bad way, kind of a good way, because like you, I think this was really what got us started in Warcraft and kind of got us hooked on that story. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with this. I'm not excited, but I'm curious.
Yes, and so far it looks just fantastic, from the gameplay that they've done to the cutscenes are going to be actual high,
stupid good,
so good, and I really hope they continue that with the actual like high detailed cutscenes that we see in the game. I hope they just blow those out of the water, because we didn't see any of those, but we saw some gameplay. We saw initial intro scene, in-game cutscene. So far, everything looks top-notch there about what they're bringing to the table. And this one personally has a connection with me, because it was the game that brought me into the Warcraft realm. The story of it, for one, is amazing, especially between the main game and the second one, the Frozen Throne.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that name in a long time. The Frozen Throne.
Right. And it was a game I played, when I didn't have a connection to play World of Warcraft, but I still wanted to play and feel the Warcraft world. I went back and I played Warcraft 3. I played it several times, played the custom games, and even we were talking at work, getting hyped for Warcraft 3 Reforged. People are going back and playing the customs and just the regular Warcraft 3, and it's live, it's going, there's a community there, and people playing it and people loving it. And it's another one of those hats off to Bungie, because it is not quite as well balanced as Starcraft, but it is a very, you don't have to fully worry about one faction winning against the others, or one key character. They've balanced that out over time, mostly. Definitely
a staple. Definitely a staple in one of their games.
Yeah, and definitely a staple in the Warcraft timeline.
Yeah, for sure.
DNA. So people had been wanting like a Warcraft 4. It'd be, they would have to continue the storyline, but this was a smart move to come back, because there's been a lot of remasters, but this is a great game to remaster.
Yeah, great job on this one. This was definitely a good win for.
Yeah, another win, another really good announcement that happened at BlizzCon. So win, check mark there for Blizzard.
Yeah.
But then into our last game before we get to our controversy, Hearthstone. So I mean, they part of their genre. It's part of their ecosystem. So
it is. It's a very popular game.
Absolutely.
I play it still to this day.
Yep. Yeah.
It's usually an airplane game for me.
Yep.
It's one of those where I have nothing else to do, and the person sitting next to me is sleeping, and I can't converse, talk with them. So what I do, play Hearthstone.
Yeah. And you can play it on any PC and mobile.
Yeah.
And so you can play on anyone. Same, your accounts crossed all of it, so it's great. It's that trading card game fix for me personally.
Same here. I don't actually have to have a deck in my hands to play with. It's
Right.
all in the phone. I don't have to worry about buying all these decks and spending all the money. And my wife likes that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you don't have to buy anything now to be competitive and play like actual online.
Yeah,
You
do
have to be smart about your deck builds, or you have to like spend a lot of time grinding out
right. And if
card decks. But
that's what I like about this is you look at any of the other big card games like that, you're going to pay to go do those competitive arenas, sit at a table, play those card games, be strategic. You don't have to do that with this, but it's still just as much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can hop in and play, and they keep announcing new events that take place in the game. So they bring out very much similar to what we see in like Magic the Gathering, in how they have seasons that come through. They bring out a new maybe type of attribute that is very popular during that season, and they have some cards that go out of season, and they bring some cards back into season.
And I think that's smart.
Yeah,
it kind of keeps people guessing and leaves the open for new things to come in. Maybe like you said, it was a season. Maybe it was a mechanic. Maybe it was something specific, class type or whatever in the cards, and then they, re-bring that in three seasons down the road. So it's like, hey, I got something new again. But
right, and it from a business aspect it's another smart move for trading card game companies to do something like that, because you want to have some kind of pool for people to go and purchase your new season of cards.
Oh yeah.
For that, and people to build new decks, so they're going to have to buy those cards and be competitive. Along with that, they do have two different leagues in there. They have the open, which is anybody can use any card, and then they actual have the ones that I see at events, which is the current season deck.
It's whatever the season deck is. Yeah.
Right. Well, so how can you apply your skill with the newest mechanics and come out the victor? And some of those, man, I tune into them and they are intense. I mean, just like we're right up there with Magic the Gathering, but the animation of being on screen
that's
adds
really
to it even more.
Yep, that's one of the best parts of this is the animations, and it gets intense. It does. This is not an easy game by any means when you're at the competitive level.
Yeah. So
well, and the cool thing with this is they are able to do some new fresh things pretty frequently, and they announced a new expansion. So I'm curious to see what comes with that. There's always little nuances that they've released over the last few years for this game. So I'm curious to see what this new one's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a lot of fun. We go back to Sultra's Stranglethorn Vale, excuse me. I had to think of the name of it, in the arena. It's based around the arena. So in the World of Warcraft days, if you wanted to just random PvP, even against people in your own faction, you walked into the arena and everybody could attack anybody in the arena.
I completely missed that. I did not realize that that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really cool mechanic then.
So we'll see what type of mechanic they introduce around that, but it could be a lot of fun. They've introduced some fun storylines in previous expansion, but this one was one that ties directly into those that have experienced that in World of Warcraft, your character.
Yeah.
So
basically all out war, you walk into a arena.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You walking in there with your allies. If you're not in a party with them, they immediately become hostile. So you could technically attack them if you wanted to. So it was an interesting place that a lot of people avoided like the plague, and some people went right in there and they lured people in so they then could gank them. So
that's going to be an interesting play out too. That would be fun to watch a competitive match at that level.
about the wild deed that could happen,
Right.
with the new deck builds. So, but
Yeah, that's cool.
well, good addition. Didn't really have a whole lot of detail with it in Hearthstone. So
Did they say when the expansion's coming?
they probably did. I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I missed that.
So I'm gonna say soon. I feel like that's a good answer. I feel like it's a good solid answer on soon. But
yeah, it's coming in the future.
In the future, yes. Excellent answer.
That is a well set out statement right there. It is coming in the future. We know.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we've worked through all of our announcements, and we've got to the big kahuna that took up and completely dominated
Diablo.
Not just any Diablo.
Diablo Immortal.
Yes.
There's a lot of heavy conversations still going on social media about this right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be a while because every article you read about BlizzCon, it didn't cover. They maybe touched on the Reforged Warcraft 3. They maybe touched on World of Warcraft Classic.
Barely.
Barely. But then they all are talking about what happened regarding the announcement of Diablo Immortal and the fallout from that.
Definitely mass fallout. That's a good word for it.
Yes.
Definitely the crowd was not happy at all when this was announced.
Well, and for those that are listening, Diablo and haven't read or seen the articles, Diablo Immortal is the next Diablo game, a part of the Diablo ecosystem that is going to be mobile-only game so far.
Which is a huge mistake. If you guys don't know what type of game Diablo is, making this a mobile-only, you basically just killed all hopes and dreams for this game ever being successful by saying mobile-only.
Yeah, well, and it's really for a last announcement of your conference, it's what caused it to be such a disappointment, because you look at Bethesda and how they treated Fallout Shelter.
Yeah,
it was in the middle of their conference, and they said, "Hey, here's a new game." No, it wasn't even in their conference. It was at a PAX conference, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was PAX West.
Yeah, PAX West, that they announced it, which is fine, because that environment that is there is completely different than the environment that you have at like BlizzCon or you have at E3s that are the hardcore gamers that are looking for the next AAA to play. What are you releasing that's going to be AAA? But when they talked about Fallout Shelter, which everybody wants the next Fallout game, it didn't land with a thud. Actually, was like, oh, that's pretty cool. All right, I get to play some the Fallout kind of mechanics a little bit on the go. But Blizzard didn't do that. They didn't take Diablo Immortal to PAX and talk about it as the next, here's an addition to the Diablo ecosystem. They just announced it as their last announcement for the opening ceremony of BlizzCon.
And they made it sound like it was going to be a AAA game.
Yeah. To be fair, they did try to stifle the enthusiasm of the community before the announcement, but we all know that any developer that's trying to stifle that is basically saying, "Hey, we're actually going to release it," But
yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big mobile gaming fan, anyways.
Not either.
But especially something like Diablo, not the platform for it. So, all.
Yeah, with talking about the mobile aspects of it, even when you get into the details of it, it was developed not by Blizzard. It was developed withheld by Blizzard and some kind of guidance from Blizzard, but it was actually developed by a Chinese company, NetEase Games, which they're actually an internet company.
An interwebs company.
Yeah, interwebs company that produces games.
Which is strange. Why take one of your leading AAA titles, it's mass following, mass moneymaker, and give it over to a internet company and say, hey, we want to make this completely mobile.
Yeah.
Has Blizzard stretched themselves? This is a rhetorical question. Has Blizzard stretched themselves so thin that they're trying to stretch too far, and they went, hey, this is probably a bad idea, but maybe we've gone too far and we can't come back from it, so they just went with it?
Yeah. Let's leave to the listeners to answer that. But in looking at, maybe this falls into the talking about how NetEase Games is relationship with Blizzard, but they've actually been involved with Blizzard a lot with, some of the releases in China of Hearthstone, of Overwatch, of World of Warcraft. So they have been involved with Blizzard a lot, and it almost feels like some type of deal was worked out that this game was to be developed, and also it needed to be developed by this NetEase Games.
Well, and it may be one of those where, hey, from the aspect of the gamer, we want to try something new, because Diablo's not ever been a mobile game.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to reach a new market. Maybe they've got stats and numbers and things that we don't see on this end. But I'm all for trying new things, just not with a game like this. And to me, this is kind of fishy of, the Activision and Bungie relationship.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Reminds me of that a lot. So maybe NetEase has more skin in the game here, and they're the ones that pushed for it. I don't know. We'd like to know your guys' thoughts, though, as well on this. Curious to see what y'all say.
Absolutely. Feel free to rant and rave how Diablo Immortal is the bane of all existence of gaming.
Absolute trash.
Absolute trash. Absolute trash. Haven't played it, but it's absolute trash. And so, some people have, were able to demo it at the have had early access to it or demoed it at the conference, and I've heard a resounding meh from the game, from people that played it. People still play. I'm gonna play the crap out of the game, but
it was a really weak meh too.
Yeah, really weak meh. Everybody's trying to get into the largest untapped community of gamers. I'm going to use that term now, of the mobile industry. Of those in the United States, but also of the largest economy of that, which is in China. Yeah. Which I kind of see like this was made to target them, but then they also going to release it over here. It's just the deployment of this, the announcement of this did not.
It did not take well.
Did not take well.
If they could have picked any other place in the United States, any of the PAXs, or even a different location and section of the BlizzCon for this year to announce this, not your ending of the ceremony and taking a AAA game that is near gamers. Have fun.
Yeah, that was definitely. If that had been changed, we'd have been having a lot different story. We'd be talking and analyzing of what we can do in Diablo and more. Which, talking about what the mechanics of the game itself and the gameplay, people were able to tie together that this looks really similar mechanics wise and play style to a game that NetEase Games had actually released earlier in the year, or not earlier in the earlier Crusaders of Light, that people were saying was a ripoff of that game, or not a ripoff, a copy and rehash and reskin. Thank you.
Yeah,
of the game.
I've seen Crusaders of Light, and I don't know. I haven't seen Diablo Immortal, but yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a big knock on Blizzard right now. I think I'm all for trying new markets. I can't knock it till I've played the game. It may be a freaking blast, and people are just overreacting for absolutely nothing. But again, like you said, gamers are going to these conferences because they want to know what the next big thing is coming. And sometimes those expectations are set too high, and the gaming companies are going a completely different direction. And this was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's good on them for trying to get in the mobile market. If, like you said, if it does pull out to be a great game, it'll be a great game of mobile to play. But it's now going to be overshadowed with this bad already PR.
Yeah.
For the game. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even help that people were, after the conference, people trying to investigate, why did they do this? Why did they announce the game? And there was a slip from one of the developers about how there was actually going to be, first it was announced that possibly like the co-founder Alan Adham was going to announce Diablo 4 at the end of the conference, which would completely changed the entirety of the conference if they had just pulled a Metroid Prime announcement and just put something up on screen that said Diablo 4.
Quick little blip on the screen. All they had to have had was music and you could have changed the rest of the conference from the beginning to the end and the rest of the year for Blizzard.
Yeah. I mean, let's look at E3 of this last year and what Bethesda did with Elder Scrolls. We were going through and watching the different games, okay, and then they announced 2 games back to back, and then which were their new space game, Starlight, I think it was. That's wrong. Anyway, and they also announced a mobile Elder Scrolls game called Blade, and it was like whatever, okay. But at the very end, they then said, "Hey, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6." Yes. Wait, 6? Sounds right. So, but, because they did it in that order, nobody looked bad on Blade. Nobody looked bad on that space game. It was the capstone of... Yeah, it looked...
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Great lineup there. Blizzard
this
didn't
one
do
was
that.
not.
Yes.
And this is why I go back to my original statement of you done fell flat on your face.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It was definitely lineup messed up there.
Yeah. And this, honestly, unfortunately it's sad to say, but this one little slip up in the way things were presented could potentially be bad sales for the rest of the year and potentially going farther out for Blizzard as well. This could really be a big setback for them.
Yeah. And if you go out and look at the ranting that's going on right now,
there's some dirty stuff going on right now.
All about Diablo Immortal, like people going on, I will never buy another Blizzard game, canceling my subscription. All right. We just need to calm down there. Just need to calm down. And, talking with talking about raging, we're going to bring in what happened at BlizzCon at the after opening ceremony where they have it like a Q&A session.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah.
This was bad.
One guy gets up there and asks if Diablo Immortal was a late April Fool's, which, come on.
Yeah, bad taste, very disrespectful.
Yeah,
I get that you don't like where the game company is going, or maybe you had different hopes for it. And I don't envy being a game designer at that point in time. I would not want to be on the front line for those kinds of hits. So honestly, props to Blizzard in certain aspects. And as always, we go back to story writing and script writing, and we're going to make mistakes. There's got to be a little bit of grace in there, no matter whether you're a gamer or you're a business person. This was very distasteful. I'm sorry, a bad April Fool's joke. I did like what the lead game designer came back with and said, though.
Yeah, I mean, so he did come back to say, you all have phones, right? And because of the volatile environment that was already present there, some people were thinking exactly what that guy asked: is this an April Fool's? Because to his benefit, and it could be a legitimate. He wasn't thinking anything, not sinister, but disrespectful. He was actually asking a question. I doubt it, but Blizzard did do an April Fool's where they announced a Diablo mobile game.
Yeah.
So
it was a legitimate question, but also a distasteful, misplaced question at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how he asked it, it was very much he was frustrated, and there was a lot of people that were frustrated too. Absolutely. But the lead game designer Wyatt Chang, and you could tell he'd put his effort into this game, directing it and moving it forward. So when you're over your creation and somebody comes in is like, is this a joke? You already get kind of very defensive.
I'm sure there was very defensive, and I don't know, we see it a lot with the designers. You make this creation and then somebody poops on it, and I know that's got to be frustrating, being in the graphic design realm, and you write coding for games and do all this stuff, but on the graphic side of things, you draw think looks like this amazing piece of art, and you open yourself up and you say, hey, what do you think about this? And somebody criticizes, and I'm okay with criticism, but those are hard strides to take as well. So props to Bungie for doing a QA at that point in time. I said Bungie, didn't I? That's funny. Yeah. Props to Blizzard for doing a Q&A. I don't know why I said Bungie.
Bees.
All the bees. Any game company with a B, all right?
Yes.
I think they did the right thing by opening up to a Q&A at that point in time. I think it would have infuriated the crowd even more if they came and said, okay, we're just done. We're not talking to anybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they would have had a completely different conversation if you would if they put it in a different part of the conference itself, that would have helped. But then if they'd actually just came out and just said they were working on a Diablo 4 game, which they confirmed later in articles that they actually were, and by this, so just why not say that? Just don't even put anything up. Say Diablo 4 is in the works.
Yeah,
Cloud would have gone wild, and
that would have changed the entire arena of how people are acting towards this.
Yeah. So I mean that's how Blizzard could have done better. But to cover one last point,
how does Blizzard recover from this? Do they recover from this, or have they stuck their foot so far down their throat they can't?
I don't know. I mean, people already. If you go out to the YouTube channel of the announcement trailer, it has like a couple thousand upvotes, but like 200 some odd thousand downvotes, and that's people being people and how they react to things.
Yeah,
but they got to continue with some PR or something or distraction. I'm gonna put it down that the best way for them to get out from others is a distraction.
Yeah,
they need to continue with a little bit of PR to address the mobile market that will download it, but then really they need to come out with that Diablo 4 announcement, and they need to talk about their other stuff, other stuff that may distract the Diablo community.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff in the works, so I think they definitely should capitalize.
And it's not like we need much distraction. I mean, we're worse than goldfish in our attention span. I'm worse than others, and that will go, ooh, shiny. Oh, that's really bad. And then weeks later, like, what was that about?
Yeah, what were we talking about? I don't even remember.
So I think that'll be the best move for Blizzard is a distraction of some point, is to get everybody's mind off of Diablo Immortal and let us actually see if it's a good game and let people speak for themselves. I do worry about what Blizzard will do with microtransactions. It's a mobile game. So
it is. It's a mobile game.
High chance that it's going to have microtransactions in it.
Yeah. You almost guaranteed it will.
Yes. So how those intertwine in the game of compared to how we see microtransactions in other games, if it does get included, that's one thing I'll worry about the game itself. I'll try it out. I will. Maybe
Oh yeah,
maybe it's gonna
same.
be a great game and a staple game that I keep on my phone for when I go anywhere. And I'm just like, oh, let me play some mobile Mortal real quick. Okay, you know,
It could be. We don't know. Time will tell. And this is not one that I'm going to follow really. Diablo's just been one of those favorite game of mine for a long time. And this is just one that I'm going to kind of let play out as is. So whenever the Diablo 4 trailer comes out, I'll get excited about that, but I'm not really excited about this one.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm not a whole lot excited because I'm still enjoying Diablo 3, but
Oh yeah, Diablo 3 is a blast.
yeah, if it comes to being close to Diablo 3 and how I can actually somewhat play that on phone, great.
Yeah.
I'll play it and try it, or I'll enjoy watching the streams of people and playing it. So,
but yeah, definitely curious to see how this one comes out. Definitely play it when it does. Curious about your guys' thoughts on how you think Blizzard could recover, and just your overall thoughts about BlizzCon. Love to hear your feedback on that. But guys, we want to thank you for all the listeners out there, and thank you for joining in and just your continued support. It's been amazing to have you guys on board with us.
Absolutely, and we thoroughly enjoy making these episodes for you guys to listen to, and thank you guys for tuning in. It's huge. We just love having you guys listen to the podcast, and if you guys did enjoy the episode, be sure to stop by and you can check out our website, allthingsgeekery.com. We'll keep all our episodes out there so you can tune them. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, Podbeam. You can download us on the go, listen to us in your car, on your phone, at work. And if you want to chat with us, hey, reach out to us on Twitter. Just message us, hey, what did you think of this? Or hey, we want to think about our next topic. Or on Instagram, host other social media platforms. We'll have those links below.
Yeah, and if you guys have any specific topics that you would like us to look at or chat about in any future episodes, you guys can email those to us at podcastatg@gmail.com. But guys, that wraps up this episode. So as always, you guys stay awesome, and we will see you in the next episode.